Cool. We got close to 100 people still showing up now. So I'll go ahead and kind of get started. Thanks again to everyone who is here. This is going to be a lot of fun. There's so much content out there about just social media in general. And there's so many different kind of channels you can kind of dive into. But I brought in Jeff and Lauren, who are the social media experts, because I really wanted someone to kind of do a deep dive into kind of content posting, content creation. And I wanted to kind of see what the thoughts are so that you could potentially, and all of our viewers here could potentially kind of start to brainstorm and determine what a good content strategy would be for 2021. Because, like anything, if you don't have a strategy going into, a big goal, then the chances of you achieving that goal are 0 to none. So, just hopefully you can glean a few insights and apply something to next year. 2020 was kind of a crap show, but I think if you plan accordingly, this could be an amazing 2021. So, I'll let Lauren kind of start with a little bit of her background. We recently partnered with her because we needed, so as MyLink Solution, I'm the co-founder of MyLink Solution. We do LinkedIn automation, LinkedIn lead generation for all of our clients. We brought Lauren on because we needed someone to help curate good content for all of our clients. So we're just now launching a new feature where we're doing content posting for our clients on LinkedIn. Lauren has a background in kind of content posting, social media management, etc., and in fact used to be one of the content strategists for the Bellagio Hotel in Las Vegas. So she's going to be a great contributor. Lauren, maybe you can kind of start off with giving a little bit about yourself, and then we'll kind of hand it over to Jeff.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you, Casey, for that intro. Just to fill in some of those gaps, I started out in social media freelancing for heavy in the food and beverage space. And at the time it was, I operated in the Northwest for smaller businesses. So I really got to see the ins and outs of everything social. Obviously, business owners were looking to us. They knew they needed social media, so we provided that. So a lot of social media, as you all probably know, is immersing yourself in it, being in tune with what the trends are. I also oversaw content creation and scheduling. Moved out to Vegas about 3 years ago. And I was really looking for a different experience in social media, specifically in that corporate space, because I'd been working for small businesses. While a lot of those same strategies you obviously can apply to that level, I just wanted that insider look of what are they doing at that level in that space. So I oversaw all of Bellagio's social media channels. And it was obviously high caliber. We worked with brands like HBO to bring things to life. And the thing that I took away from it the most is that strategy was so important. Now, I know there's certain platforms out there that are very organic based, like TikTok. You can throw something up there and it can go viral, but some of these platforms are heavily saturated. So you really have to have that strategy in place so that you can actually execute and then measure those analytics and decide what's working for your brand, what's not. So a lot of my role was just really heavy on the analytics side and strategy side. And one thing that we did, which I translate into every client that I work with, no matter what industry, no matter what level of business, is identifying who their audience is and who they're looking to reach, and what conversion and what goals you want from that. So just a quick little example, at Bellagio, their consumer was luxury. So I shop at thrift stores. So obviously I'm not their consumer, but I have to put my brand cap on and immerse in that, who that consumer is. So I would do essentially all these little practices and exercises where I would create a fake account and follow a bunch of luxury accounts. So I'm just immersing in, where's that conversation at? Who is that audience? And how do I reach them? And what are brands doing there? And so we developed personas for that. And then just recently, I took the leap of faith after working with a few other clients And now I'm fully doing freelance work, but those same principles and tools I apply. And I'm not trying to take up too much time, but I do want to bring it back to what we're doing here at MyLink Solution. We've really taken that strategy side and developed, a whole strategy for our clients. So now we're offering this LinkedIn posting, and you might be wondering, well, how do you scale that for 200 people but still be engaging? But as we kind of talked before this phone call, you really want that filler content. You still want to be consistent in your posting. So we're taking that off of you. We're immersing you in those conversations through our research. We're utilizing A/B testing. We're being very cognizant of who your audience is, where we're trying to reach, and we're tapping you into those conversations through this feature. But then outside of that, if you want to get down and showcase who you are on a personal brand level, you can do that. You can utilize AMA, write your own articles. That's just outside of the consistent posting you should be capitalizing on. So that's really what we're looking to do here at MyLink Solution. And I could go on about all that we're really working through, but we're also utilizing that A/B testing feature to say we're not just putting out mass content to put it out. We're taking those analytics. The beautiful thing about social media is you have that data at your fingertips, and it tells a story of who your audience is and what they like and what resonates with it. So we're taking those insights, we're carefully taking that and building out the rest of our strategy and revisiting that. So long-winded way to say we have some really cool things we're working on, and that's just a little background on me and kind of my principles for social media.
Great. Awesome. Thank you. And I mean, you make a lot of good points. I mean, if you don't know how to analyze the data that you're putting out there, the content you're putting out there, then, you're kind of just, fighting blind effectively. But I wanted to introduce Mr. Jeff Fitzer. Probably needs no introduction, but he he is not wearing a suit today, and he never wears suits. So if you saw the promo graphic, I'm sorry for misleading you. But anyways, he is one of the top influential leaders in the mortgage industry. And what's interesting about his approach in general is that, compared to real estate, which a lot of our viewers are here today, are realtors, real estate, in my opinion, is kind of like, cutting edge, realtors are cutting edge innovation, whereas mortgage can be seen as like a lagging industry in terms of how they innovate and how they leverage technology. And so what Jeff is doing, in my opinion, is he's kind of like clearing the way and kind of leading the way on kind of mortgage technology and innovation. In particular, he's leveraging social media in a very creative way to do so. So I wanted to bring him on. Jeff, if you don't mind, maybe do a quick little story about how you got started, and then the question I wanted to ask you is what is your content strategy? What do you do to strategize for future content posting?
Yeah, awesome. Thanks for having me on today. And Lauren, actually, I just wanted to listen to you keep talking because I was actually even writing notes and jotting some things down, because what you said about immersing in your audience and understanding your audience and solving their problems is what I accidentally created. And so Casey says I'm in mortgage, but most of you, if anybody knows me, they actually don't realize I'm in mortgage because I don't talk about mortgages because that's boring. And I think the biggest mistake that most people make on social media in general is they give their audience what they think they need. You're not thinking about what your audience actually wants. And they don't want a market update. They don't want that. There's 10 million of them. They don't need that, right? And so understanding that concept and understanding how to play the game and play the algorithm and all those sorts of things. And I am not an expert, but I'm an expert by accident, truthfully. And I get that a lot. I get the word influencer. That's why I kind of mock myself. The only credit I'll give myself is that what I've done has taken my business on a hockey stick curve, and it's just exploding, and we're crushing it. And we can 100% mark it back to video and social media, 100%. Like, we struggled. I've been in the business 20 years. We struggled like hell to grow. And the reason is because we were stuck doing the same thing that everybody else was doing, like sending market updates. And eventually I accidentally, it's about 5 years ago, we made a company change, and I needed to differentiate myself in my market from the company I was leaving, who was the market leader. And one thing, this was right about the time Facebook Live was becoming a thing. And I saw somebody doing a coffee talk, and I was like, interesting. I think I should pay attention. And I started doing stuff, and I started doing that kind of thing. And it got me introduced to other videographers and green screen and all this stuff. And I just had that creative mindset of, I'm going to be different. And I took a ton of criticism for it. But what it did was it put me on the map. And it got me put into groups where I got to meet people like the O'Tooles, like Casey. And before you knew it, I just realized I was onto something, and I was swimming upstream. And what I realized was I was solving my customer's problem. My customer, as a mortgage guy, is a real estate agent. What I realized was their brokers, your brokers, aren't teaching you social media strategies. They're not teaching you how to execute on video. They're teaching you calling expireds. They're teaching you door knocking. They're teaching you timeless strategies that do work, but they're not teaching you the next level stuff. Why? Because most of them aren't doing it. So how can they teach you? And my phone started to ring, and I was like, holy crap, I just solved the puzzle. Like, I can stop chasing. I'm now attracting. And now I've just taken those same principles that I accidentally stumbled upon, and I apply them, and I teach them to realtors to do the exact same thing to attract business. And it's the same concept. It's all very parallel. I might be in mortgage trying to attract real estate, but you in real estate are trying to attract a consumer, a local consumer. So you can be the one that they choose to sell their house or use to buy a house. And all of this stuff applies. So I think that's kind of a good 30,000 foot view. When it comes to strategy, so when I get to that, I've never had one specific strategy. My strategy is vomit my life. Like literally what I realized early on when I was doing social media was when I was doing my live videos and I was a talking head, which at the time was still next level because nobody was doing it. But when I started to bring in my daughter, who at the time was making slime and wanted to sell it, like the engagement just skyrocketed through the roof. Right. Or when we would be out doing something as a family and I would share something that was happening, the engagement would skyrocket. And I was like, damn, this is what they want. I'm just going to give it to them. And then when I would create business videos where I was dancing around and being goofy, pre-TikTok, by the way, I realized this is what they want. Sure, there's going to be the naysayer. There's going to be the gray hair who says, you're an idiot. Stop doing that. You should talk about mortgages and rates and programs. Well, the gray hair's wrong. And the reality is they want your personality. They want you. They want authenticity. And maybe you're not that way, but still the person you are in your kitchen, in your bathroom, behind closed doors is usually not the persona that you put on social media. And that's where you're missing the mark. And so that's really the key piece here. And so my strategy has become neurotic consistency. And by consistency, I mean, I actually set a goal at the beginning of this year. This is pre-COVID, obviously. And my goal was I want to post in my stories every single day, multiple times per day, every single day. I'm going to share my life. It's an easy strategy. And then I'm going to post to social media every single day. And in many days, I post multiple times a day. And I'm involved in different groups. I post to multiple platforms. So I'm not always the perfect person to say, give me your playbook and I'm going to emulate it, because I am the anomaly of the person who actually enjoys creating content. But if there's just one simple piece of advice I can give anybody, it's that you cannot overpost and you cannot be too authentic. You can be too businessy. That turns people off, but you can never be too authentic. And so the best advice I can give to somebody is be consistent. And when we're talking about this, and I'll turn it back over to you guys, but when we're talking about what Lauren's going to be doing for creating filler content, I use that word. It's because a lot of you are looking for get rich quick. You're looking for, I don't want to do it. I want somebody to do it for me. I have people that do some posting for me, but it's like 25% or less of my content. Why? Because everybody knows it's not me. It's not some random service can't post my 2-year-old daughter. I have to do that. Some random service can't post things about my dog or my travel. I have to do that. You just got to get in the habit of sharing your life. That's what your audience wants. That's how you play the game. That's how you win the game.
That's great. Yeah. And I want to kind of just quickly jump in and let everyone else who's here know that if you have any questions, we do have another kind of colleague on our chat that if you have any questions for me, Jeff, or Lauren, just kind of, ask them. We can answer them live, or we can answer them in the chat as well. But yeah, I mean, I think you made a great point, Jeff. You have to be organic. You have to be authentic. it is, and regarding like the organic, authentic kind of video stuff you're doing, twice, 3 times a day, compared to like the filler content. One thought I had recently was how, in my opinion, I think the filler content is simply like a "we're open" sign. So rather than, because if people don't see anything from you, whether it's a post, whether it's a video of yourself talking, they're not going to know that you even exist, let alone are open for business. But even a simple filler post about an article about the real estate market or about the mortgage rates or whatever it may be, at the very least, you'll be having hundreds of people seeing that you're open for business. Now, will they engage in it? Probably not, because you're not personalizing it to them. You're not being organic with the content necessarily, but it's at least like we're open, right? And especially right now, more than ever, with like shutdowns occurring, at least through California, there is a lot of question whether or not industries or people are working, because people are unemployed. They're not really doing what they normally do. So being there, and they said you can't post enough. Just keep on posting, whether it's real organic videos and or just filler content. Just get it out there, right? Yeah, and give people what they want. It's like what they want is not only generic home valuation slides and sites and mortgage updates and market snapshots. It's genuine authenticity. It's like, this is who I am. Like anyone can create a mortgage, anyone can write a contract for a real estate transaction, but not everyone goes live and is on a beach in Malibu while their daughter comes out and starts interrupting a Facebook Live. I mean that was
I don't
one
know who
that
did that. I don't know who did that.
That was one that I saw, that I was looking at the analytics of that particular video, and it was like, decent analytics, and then it was you being real. You're like, hey, I'm doing a Facebook Live, and you're kind of like looking back, and all of a sudden the analytics went way up. I'm like, wow, that's interesting. Like, that was a real moment. That was a real live moment, and it got you a lot of attraction. It got you a lot of attention. And I mean, who knows if it got you any business, but it's at least like there. People are seeing you. So yeah, that's great. So being real and being organic.
If I can say one thing too about the filler piece of it, I equate it to email marketing. Email marketing is never dead. It never will be dead. And I think people said it died at one point, and now it's like back stronger than ever, in my opinion. But email marketing is one of those things where even when I was doing it 5 to 10 years ago, when it was like the thing to do, right? I always told like my people, I'm like, listen, most of your emails aren't going to get read, just like most of your posts aren't going to even get consumed, but it's subliminal. Your name continually shows up in their mailbox, and then they remember who their mortgage person is, who their realtor is. And that's part of the reason you do it. Now, obviously, you don't want to you can get kicked off the list, but by and large, most of your audience is going to keep you on there. And that's the reason you do it. You don't do it because you think everybody's going to consume it. They're not. It's the same in email. It's the same on social media. And that's kind of the name. And that's, Casey, you hit it on the head.
Yeah.
Well, and I think to that point, just jumping in on the topic of that evergreen or filler post, there's also the strategy with, analyzing what keywords should we be including in these posts, because it really does optimize you for search engines. You can increase your visibility through that. You can show up on SERPs because of that. So I think filler content is important from that lens as well, to increase your visibility through those keywords.
I agree. And if I can answer, Casey, a question from an anonymous attendee, I don't know if that's your name or you're really an anonymous attendee. Either way, it's cool. I'm teasing because I do a lot of these. But the answer to your question is, and this is what I say, you're living your life, right? So first of all, this is why you need a service like this, because they will do a lot of the posting for you, but you're living a life, right? Like every single day you're going through motions, you're doing something, you're eating, you're getting in your car, you're going places. Here's what I encourage you to do. Get in the habit of just turning your camera on what's happening in your life more often and share it. That's it. Just start doing that. And eventually it starts to become easier. And then as you're doing that, you'll be surprised. That's the kind of stuff that you think that's not interesting will resonate with people, because there's a lot of people that have the same uninteresting lives that we all do. And that's what resonates with them. That's what makes them want more of what you've got and draws people in.
Yeah, and anecdotally, I can attest to that too. I mean, we do a lot of obviously LinkedIn promotion, LinkedIn messaging, etc. And we had an open house. Well, obviously it was pre-COVID, but we always ask people when they come into our open houses, how did you hear about the open house? And people necessarily won't say on LinkedIn or even in a private message that they're going to be coming to our open house, but some of them just like see it and show up, right? It's like you don't know what you don't know. Just because you're not getting people messaging you and responding and commenting all the time, like doesn't mean people aren't seeing it and aren't taking action as a result of it. So it's you want to be everywhere. And so yeah, you said earlier about talking about like email marketing. You want to be on LinkedIn, posting things on a daily or every other day basis. You want to be on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, everywhere, because you don't know when someone's going to be watching you, and you want to make sure that they know that you're open for business and you would love their business. Plus, to another extent, like if you're going to be listing a property or if you're going to be listing a house, the client is going to want to see that you would be marketing their properties as you market yourself. So yeah, I mean, there's so many good ways of leveraging social media for your business, but the key takeaway here is just get out there and be organic. Lauren, I wanted to ask you a question about how you kind of dig into what you think would be a good content, a good posting, and then branding. So I was talking to you earlier about like how you were mentioning to me how you kind of like have a consistent theme with a lot of your posts. How do you kind of research again what to post, and then how do you kind of keep them consistent so people know you?
Yeah, so I'm a firm believer in, I don't know if this is the right term, but yeah, this is the right term, not recreating the wheel. So I truly believe that unless you have this crazy niche, which could potentially be true, look at what other people are doing in that space that are doing it well and are seeing the results of that. And so my whole kind of exercise of really immersing myself in the spaces that the audience is in allows me to see what conversations are populating from that and what is performing well. So for example, in me creating that burner account, I filled my feed with those brands I wanted to emulate because that's who my audience was attracted to and that's who they were connecting to. So I'm not going to take, in this case, the Gucci campaign and duplicate that exactly. I'm going to take ideas from that. And so, basically you just want to immerse yourself in where your audience is. And I am consistently listening to podcasts. Jeff, I know you have your podcast, so plug that in because podcasts I know take a lot of work and those are experts giving that to you. So I'm always listening to podcasts. I'm also always reading blogs, which I know people are like, aren't blogs, old news? No, they're awesome. Again, it's someone giving you potentially something that they learned through their efforts. Agora Pulse is a website where they have digital marketers that have paid money to see results of things. So they've already put tens of thousands of dollars in, and they are blogging for you to show you, hey, does this kind of ad perform on Pinterest? And they'll tell you, and they're paying for you. So that's free knowledge right there. So I'm consistently immersing in various places, like I said, where my audience lives. And as far as that cohesiveness and really developing your brand, there's a whole bunch of exercises to practice to really put that brand hat on. And I just context too, at one point I was managing social media for Bellagio and Circus Circus. I don't know if you know what that hotel is. So imagine the hats I had to wear for that. That was a little crazy. So all that to say, yeah, I had to really put my brand hat on and think, who is the audience? What's the content that's resonating with them? So in this case, it's luxury. What are they resonating? What exactly is speaking to them? Unfortunately, as much as I love to have fun with content, Bellagio, they loved photos. They loved stale assets, which that's not what I loved, but that's what delivered the return for them. So I was consistently trying to match that. And then one thing that I'll say is each platform is different. So each platform has best practices for its content. So I'll speak to Instagram here and say that as far as your cohesiveness, as a brand, you really want to develop that kind of 9-tile window into your brand. So whether it's you have a graphic here with, or a testimonial here, and a case study here, and a property here, those 9 tiles are speaking to your audience as a window to who you are. So instead of just throwing stuff out there, I firmly believe on that space, particularly what's called a tiling strategy, which is taking your grid and laying it out with prompts of what content is going to come on which day, because you're developing that rapport with your audience for them to know, all right, on Tuesday, my linked solution is putting out this piece of content and I'm going to tune in for that. And then without them, I think, Jeff, you mentioned this earlier, as someone scrolling this feed, which, as you all know, you're inundated with a ton of information. You want to, without someone even having to look at your name, identify, oh, that's so-and-so, that's that one agent. Oh, that's the broke agent putting out hilarious meme today. So I think you really need to figure out and follow that practice. I know it sounds like a lot of work, but it will truly pay off and take the headache off of that writer's block of, well, I don't really know what to post. Figure out who your audience is, figure out the conversations that they're in. How can you make that uniquely you? Jeff kept touching on being transparent and being you. Now, these social media platforms are saturated, but no one else is you. So how are you in that conversation? And what does that look like? That could say, like the broke agent, I like using that example because I think he's hilarious, but I think, he identified, okay, there's a lot of agents out here. We're struggling in these similar spaces, but I don't really see where we're talking about that. So he kind of trickled down, I'm an agent. So that puts him in a pool, but then maybe he's an agent in a specific category. And then he even went further to say, well, I'm honestly funny too. So how do I show that to this audience? So obviously that did him well, but that's just kind of, I know that's a really quick synopsis of how I go about it. And there's tons of tools you can use. I would recommend HubSpot has a great tool to figure out your personas. It's a free tool. It's an exercise you can work through that literally spits out at the end, here's your persona. Here's your persona. Here are the keywords attached to that persona, the content types, just a really great tool that's free to use for you to assess what your overall strategy is, your content strategy, and even your tiling strategy for the platforms that make sense. And I saw someone ask, what is the website that I mentioned? Agora Pulse. I don't know if I'm actually saying it right. It's Agora Pulse. That's the first one that has the blog where they have done a ton of paid campaigns to show you what results they get. And then that last one was HubSpot.
Awesome. Cool. Thank you. Yeah, no, and so I feel like there's two approaches to social media marketing. I brought in, Lauren and Jeff because they're the ones, they're, the brand experts and put content out there. Let's let them talk about that. What I think I do well personally is like growth hacks. I try and figure out, quicker / easier ways to get massive exposure in an automatic way. And just, one key takeaway that I recently stumbled upon, in fact, Jeff, I forgot to mention this last time you asked about it, but there is a really interesting way of creating a very large amount of exposure and engagement from a LinkedIn post that I hadn't really quite figured out until now. Because in fact, I'll share my screen. Because if you notice, you post something, what's it called? The general posts on LinkedIn, you don't get a bunch of organic exposure, 484 views, 219 views. But, having learned a lot about LinkedIn and how their algorithm works, what I've learned is that the more people that engage, the more people that comment, like, etc., on your LinkedIn posts, the more viral activity it will have, right? So can everyone see my screen?
Yes.
So one thing I've done recently, so we just had, we have a luxury listing in Ventura, and we just had a price reduction from it recently. And so what I did is I posted this on my brother's LinkedIn page, since he's the primary listing agent on this property. I then created a copy of this post, a clickable link to the post. And then I started sending out personal messages, direct messages to people on Sean's LinkedIn account that directly relate back to that post and say, hey, John, not sure if you saw my recent post on LinkedIn. I was hoping to see if you know anyone who may be interested. What do you think? And so granted, the majority of people that see this message are going to say, no, thanks, not interested. But you'd be surprised that every now and again, someone does go, I saw that property. I don't, if I hear of anyone looking, I'll let you know. I'm sure you already have a great loan officer, so I'm trying to reverse sell there. But what's nice about this is some people will then revert back to this post and see it and then start commenting on it. And so this post, which was posted about a week and a half ago, just 1 week ago, already has 1,700 video views, which video views are a lot harder to get than just general photo views. And so 1,700 video views of this price reduction is really good for LinkedIn. And in fact, we just got it in escrow last week too. So yeah, there's little kind of secret ways that we could help you generate more exposure on specific posts. But you want to be careful because obviously sending out direct messages takes up some bandwidth, some social bandwidth. You don't want to do it every day for every post, but for something that's very important, you can include a link to a post in a direct message and bring them back to that post for engagement. Are there any hacks for other platforms, Jeff?
As far as, hacks, there is no such thing as a get rich quick per se. LinkedIn is probably one of those underutilized platforms. So there's a ton of opportunity there. TikTok's another one that, it's new. So there's a lot of opportunity to grow a large audience. But one of the things about TikTok that a lot of people lose sight of is that the audience is young, right? But it's changing. It's quickly evolving, just like Facebook started as a college app, just like IG started as a young person's app, and they've all evolved. Same thing's going to happen to TikTok. But the thing about TikTok is if you have any video skill whatsoever or none, it's the best content creation app that exists because you can use it as your video camera, as your editing app. There's so many features that are involved in it to make your videos stand out. It's incredible, not to mention the fact that it's short form content. So it's forced people like me who are used to making 2 to 3 minute talking head videos and condense my message down to under a minute, which is what people want because our attention spans are this big. So I use TikTok just to create a lot of content. I don't think that directly answers your question, but it kind of sent me down a rabbit hole for a second.
Can you create content on TikTok and then disperse it across all the other platforms?
And I do.
How does a TikTok video interact, or how does it perform, I guess you could say, natively on TikTok versus Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram?
Well, first of all, I don't share it from the TikTok app. So I automatically download them to my camera roll and then I post organically to the platforms, which, by the way, when you're talking about all of the social media platforms, they have one primary goal. They have multiple goals, but one big one, keep you on their platform. So if you're posting a YouTube link to Facebook to drive your audience off of Facebook, your post is not going to perform as well. Always post organically to every platform. But with TikTok, I think the advantage you have is, first of all, people kind of know it now, right? They know it's probably, no matter what the content is, it's probably going to be more entertaining than your general video. So when you're posting your organic TikTok video, it still has the TikTok watermark. So your audience subliminally on Facebook or Instagram says, I'd rather watch that one than that one. So I'm going to watch it. And I do this. I share this in one of my presentations. I share my Instagram analytics because Instagram has amazing analytics. And I show like the last 30 days, the last 3 months, the last 6 months, and always like my TikToks are my best performing posts consistently. There's always one outlier, like my 2-year-old, like she always performs well. But generally speaking, my TikToks always perform well. And all that tells me is, I guess my audience wants more of it. And so I'm just going to keep bringing it to them. So that's why it's important for people to understand the platform, which somebody did ask. I forget where it was. I think it was in the chat, which performs the best, which social platforms. And there is no direct answer to that. That depends on you. I can tell you right now, just from a little I know about Lauren, and Instagram performs very well for her. I guarantee it. Like that's her jam. I just know it. And so for me, it's not, I love Instagram, but it doesn't perform as well for me as probably Facebook does or TikTok does. And that's just, it's everybody's a little bit different. And then a lot of people perform really well on LinkedIn. So, I mean, or YouTube's another one. So it depends on you and where you spend your time, where you spend your focus, because each platform has a place. And so they're all very important. And I don't know if Casey, if you want me to answer some of these other questions in here, or if you wanted to jump ahead.
One that I was interested in is, besides video, what's another way to share your life? That was interesting. I mean, obviously that's video is probably the most engaging, but would you suggest something else as well?
Pictures, just pictures. I mean, there's nothing wrong with pictures. The thing I will say too about pictures is twofold. One, captions are extremely important. And I know Lauren knows this, especially on Instagram, because it's changed. Like Instagram used to be like all visual, but now if you watch any influencer, they tell a story in their post and it's a long caption, and that applies to all of the platforms. The reality is a lot of people have short attention spans and aren't going to read it, but the ones who do read it, now, instead of you just posting something with 2 or 3 words, you told a story about the picture. That person just like got drawn into you even more. Like they just grew a connection to you. And so don't be lazy with your captions. And that's one way to elevate pictures, by telling a story. The other way you can do something with pictures is, if like, let's just say, actually, if you go to my personal page, you would see a TikTok actually. Actually, it's funny. So I took video and pictures of Breakfast with Santa on Sunday or Saturday, whatever day it was. And I was just documenting it, because my wife's like, well, she knows I'm the content creator. She's like, get your damn camera out, right? So always documenting. You never know what's going to be funny or what's going to be good. But I took some good stuff, and we caught our daughter just like freaking out when Santa came by, and it was really entertaining. And so what I did is I took the videos, I took some of the pictures, I went to a video app called Viva Video, which is a free app that anybody can use. I put everything together. So I took video and pictures, combined it together, put some holiday music with it. Then I posted it to TikTok. So I actually didn't post it, or I didn't even create it organically in TikTok, because I wasn't thinking that way at that morning. But then I took that video and posted it back to the other social platforms. And of course, it's still today, what is today, Tuesday, getting a ton of engagement. People are still commenting. Why? Because it's my life, and it was cute and it's fun. And so to the person who asked earlier, I don't know what to share, or anybody who asked, I don't know what to share, you're doing these things. And you're already taking pictures. You're traveling. You're doing that kind of stuff. Just share it. That's it. That's all you got to do. Don't overcomplicate it.
Yeah, that's brilliant. I mean, like, share stories and ask for feedback. So personally, at least prior to the past couple of years, I was always afraid of asking for feedback on Facebook or any of these like platforms. I was afraid of like no comments. Like if you ask someone a question to like the general public and you have no comments, that's embarrassing. But I think what I'm learning is, you tell your stories, you ask for feedback, you ask questions, and over time, that engagement will start coming.
It's like a zit on your face when you're a teenager, and you think everybody, like it's a beacon of light just flashing for everyone. Nobody's paying any attention to it. Just you. Just me or you, right? You look in the mirror and it's like, oh my God, I can't go to school today. But nobody was really noticing it. And the same thing that you just said, Casey, like no offense, but and I'll say this to myself, nobody's paying that close of attention to any of us. No one. So when you have a post that poorly performs, nobody noticed but you. Nobody. So that's the thing, is we talk ourselves out of these things because we're afraid of what people will think. Like the reality is, even when you suck at video in the beginning, because we all do, I learned everything I've done. I was either self-taught or a teenager taught me. I'm not kidding. I have no formal education in video editing or anything. I just taught myself, because that's what kids do nowadays. And the reality is I sucked at it. But people, like if you go on Facebook, I've heard this, this was taught years ago, was like, you would go to a social media training and they'd say, go to Facebook right now and ask for a plumber, or something like that, and watch the engagement you get. Because as humans, we just want to like share. Like I'm not a plumber, but I want to give somebody a plumber, right? I don't know why that is. And the same thing applies to you just sharing content, or you sharing your life. People just like, there's something about it that makes people want to be supportive. And yes, there's always going to be that Karen, right? But you got to get past that. Like you've got to look past that. And especially in business, because there's always somebody wanting to tear you down. And I always knew the people that wanted to tear me down were just intimidated by me, or, they couldn't do what I was doing. And so their natural reaction was to try to cut me down, hoping I'd go away. And it usually works. And that's why you can't let that happen as a general rule of thumb on social media. So stop thinking like Casey and thinking I'm not going to post it because I'm afraid it's not going to get engagement. Don't worry about it. Like I'm always testing. And some things I think are going to be viral and they get nothing. And some things are stupid and they go viral. And I'm like, what the hell? You can't figure it out. It's impossible. So just keep doing it.
You know, I feel bad for anyone named Karen nowadays.
Right? Yeah. There's Halloween costumes now.
And I think you may have just coined a new one, a Casey, someone who is which could be even worse. Who knows? I don't know, Lauren, what are your thoughts on this? I mean, being like organic, authentic, coming from contribution. I think that's a huge one.
Yeah, I think you know, whatever your strong suit is, like Jeff was saying, you know, can lean into photos, but the beauty is there's also other forms of content as well. So LinkedIn has the article feature. You can assert yourself as an expert in that space and write. If writing is your strong suit, then go ahead and write up a storm. You're bound to gain some traction or at least gain insights. And I think even to the point that's being said right now, the more you are posting in general, the more you will be favored on these platforms. They want you to utilize that platform and those features. And the more you're posting, the more you're getting feedback. And that's only good. Even, and I know it sounds hard in the moment, but even no feedback is still feedback. That means, great, then this isn't what people are looking for. Then I'm going to pivot and try something else. So I think in general, you know, I've had people ask so many times, like, how do I start blogging? How do I start social media? People are going to judge me. They're going to, you know, so on and so forth. And it's like, you know what, the difference between you and the person doing it is they're doing it. So put yourself out there and do it. And I think Jeff made great points. People will speak into it. I used to do vlogging and I had quite a bit of traction on there, and people, as you might know, can be pretty nasty behind the screen. So I left that space. And I just thought, I was like, you know what? No, I was clearly providing people value. There's a ton of people that resonated with that. And oftentimes we like to think of the trolls and focus on the trolls, but you know, they don't even know you. So yeah, distribute that content, lean into those spaces. Just going back to that question, lean into those spaces that make sense for you. If you're a great writer, lean into some, you know, LinkedIn articles. If you're great at content, lean into TikTok, or, you know, even try it, because like Jeff's saying, it's a great space to create that content. Utilize native features, polls, quizzes, get creative. So that's, I don't know if that answered that. That's my thought there.
And if Casey, can I go back to Chip? So Chip had asked a question about what I did in providing value to realtors. And Chip, the answer really is I position myself as an authority on a topic accidentally, which was video and social. So it depends on the platform. And I see that you just asked another question about LinkedIn specifically, which LinkedIn is very business oriented. But I will point out to everyone on this, and Casey can attest to this, LinkedIn added stories. Why did LinkedIn add stories? Because it's trying to probably become a little bit more intimate than it has been in the past, because it knows in order to continue to compete, it has to create more of an authentic place. I've posted TikToks to LinkedIn and took crap for it from friends. In fact, it was ironic. I just had a meeting last week with a company who wants to hire me to be a marketing strategist for them. And the guy sat there, who follows me religiously, by the way, but he's also my biggest critic, was my biggest critic, said, dude, I just want to apologize. I ripped you a year ago for posting TikTok on LinkedIn. Dude, you couldn't have been more right. Like, I was way off base. And part of it is, my point of saying that is I took a chance. But at the end of the day, like TikTok a year ago versus today is totally different. A year ago, it was all just about goofiness and trying to go viral. Today, like there's business people creating business I mean, McDonald's is on my feed right now, advertising the McRib. Listen, it's relevant. Like it's super relevant. And now it's become that place like Gary Vee. Do you think Gary Vee's dancing in front of the camera? No, Gary Vee's being Gary Vee on TikTok. The same Gary Vee is on every other platform. And so position yourself. So Chip, position yourself as the authority on anything, which one more thing to add to that, when it comes to your pillars of content, like what to post about, that's how I describe it. I find my pillars. So I have my personal life. I have my business. Everybody has that. Find a couple of other pillars that you have in addition to that. So for me, video and social was one of them, but another one was fitness and diet. That's a passion of mine in my real life. Therefore, I'm doing it every day. Therefore, I have content to share. And there's a big group of people that love that content. And guess what? Those people became my raving fans. And anybody who's not interested just ignores me. I have no harm there. But the 2, 3, 400 or 1,000 people that do follow my fitness journey or my diet journey, going off and on with veganism and that kind of thing, man, it gets so much engagement because the raving fans, the people that it resonates with, they jump in. Just like if I was into crocheting, super boring, right? To most, but to somebody who crochets, super interesting. And there's other crocheters out there that would just like, you would suck them right in. And that's the name of the game. So just do what you're already doing and share more of it.
100%. Yeah. And I totally agree. And I want to take this time to kind of answer Chip's question also and do a slight kind of deviation from what you're saying. But so Chip asked, so for those of us with limited LinkedIn presence currently, how would I attract connections in with people in a specific job description, let's say CPAs and or financial planners? So personally, I have 17,000 connections on LinkedIn. My brother's 13,000. We have tons, right? And when you post things on LinkedIn, the algorithm is based. So one component of how much exposure you get is based on how many connections you have. So you want to first and foremost increase your total amount of connections on LinkedIn. So, and to think that you can't do it there's tons of ways of increasing your connections on LinkedIn. One of which is through My Link Solution. So our company, for like a shameless plug, we can find CPAs, we can find financial planners on LinkedIn for you. We can send out automated connection requests, automated follow-up messages, and start engaging with them in a direct message kind of way as well. But the trick is to not do it in a way that you're just doing a direct sale. And so in fact, for all of our clients, I highly discourage like a connection to a direct sell, like let me help you buy or sell a home. I think the most effective way to kind of engage with CPAs and financial planners is to just like ask them how their business is going. How is 2020? How has COVID affected your business? Just general questions to kind of start a conversation. Because people, in my opinion, are starting to want more of a connection digitally than they did in the past. In the past, people would have these connections in person, networking events, etc. Now that that's gone, they're looking for that connection virtually. And what better source than like a private direct message? So, A is to increase your connection network via LinkedIn using automation services. Next is to then present them and talk to them in a way that's more social and casual and not so salesy. If you do that, you will increase your business exponentially just based on those like few little key components. I mean, people are unaware of how targeted LinkedIn can be. LinkedIn, you can filter based on years of experience. You can filter based on industry. You can filter based on seniority level, CFOs, founders, partners, directors, owners of companies that are in healthcare. There's also even little hacks of figuring out how old someone is based on like when they graduated from college. There's a lot of things you can do on LinkedIn, but similar to what you guys were saying earlier about, posting content, like just do it, just post it. Same thing with LinkedIn. It's like start doing it, and the more you do it, like the more you'll learn. I mean, Jeff said he wasn't an expert at TikTok and social media a couple of years ago, but luckily he has some daughters that are of age that could teach him a few things, and he just became a man. So you just got to put yourself out there.
I still don't consider myself an expert, by the way. I'm still learning every single day. That's the thing about it. It's just always ever evolving.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, it's been about a 50-minute webinar so far. I don't want to take too much of everyone's time, but are there any specific questions that have not been answered? Thomas, have you been able to take a look at anything?
Here's a
Someone
question.
just asked, do you recommend sharing the more personal content on LinkedIn, or do you try to reserve that for Instagram or Facebook? So I can speak to that because it's kind of geared towards LinkedIn. So definitely Facebook and Instagram. I mean, personal content. LinkedIn, there's a slight separation. You don't want to be posting cat videos, necessarily. but you can post your listings, you can post stuff about your personal, kind of your personal business, but you do want to keep it a little bit more professional.
Agreed. And I didn't post that same Christmas video to LinkedIn, FYI. I don't, but anything that's a part of my other pillars, like video and social media strategies, that's business. And so sometimes I just share it via a TikTok. And so that's that. But yes, Brett, it is definitely a much more professional platform.
One side note on LinkedIn is even though you don't want to post personal stuff necessarily, I think having personal experiences on LinkedIn is good. So, don't just have the fact that you're a real estate agent or a mortgage professional on your LinkedIn. You want to have all of your experiences as robust of a profile as you possibly can. I can't tell you how many times I've heard from clients who say that they got a deal because on their LinkedIn profile, they said that they're the co-founder of a jiu-jitsu studio. And this guy also was interested in jiu-jitsu, and now they became friends, and he sold him a property. So, people, if you work in healthcare, put the fact that you used to be a midwife or a nurse or whatever it may be. Obviously, education's huge. I mean, I did 2 education abroad programs when I was younger and in college, and I get so many comments on the fact that I lived and studied in Chile and Mexico, and it's just, you don't know what people are going to be able to relate to. So even though you're not posting that content, you want to make yourself extremely relatable by having a robust, comprehensive LinkedIn profile.
Yeah, and what you could do too is to speaking to realtors is every time you have a transaction, get to know your client. So if you have an educator or you have someone who works in healthcare, you have somebody who whatever is jiu-jitsu, it doesn't matter. Tell a story, right? So now when you go on to say, instead of just the general picture, the general congratulations to the happy homeowners, tell a story, like get to know them and ask them, is it okay if I share this piece of this because this is all relevant? Which at the end of the day, what you're doing is you're giving a feel-good story. You're also letting people know that that's who you're working with a healthcare worker, you're working with an educator. And then people are like, that's me too. I want to work with that agent. And that's how you kind of make it authentic and personal without sharing breakfast with Santa.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. That's good, Jeff. Case studies, I think, are really powerful to utilize on LinkedIn, which is more of a personal element to it.
Yeah, make it less about you too. That's important, because one thing I do see a lot of people do is they want to go on and they want to be Gary Vee. I've been guilty of that too. But if I make it about my customer, if I make it about somebody else, I make it about you, I make it, that somehow, some way, that's how it gets resonated, because everybody, we just naturally want to get on there and we think, I need to start talking about how I'm an expert. It's like me. It's like mortgage people. Hey, realtor, let me take you out for a cup of coffee and tell you how awesome I am. That's what every lender's doing. And if you're a realtor, you're so sick and tired of that. Like, how can you bring me value? This is about me. And that's what everybody wants. Same thing on social media. So find ways to give it to them.
Yep. This is excellent, by the way. I'm really happy with how this all went. So many amazing nuggets of wisdom, and there's just so much more to learn that's out there. So I mean, again, a quick plug. If you are interested in learning more how to leverage LinkedIn for your personal marketing or lead generation or your branding for next year, you can go ahead and schedule a demo with us. Thomas will include the link to our demo on the Zoom chat, or visit mylinksolution.com. But I mean, yeah, it's even if you don't use our services, I think this was huge for all the people who are watching, because I mean, the main takeaway is just get out there and do it, and do it in a strategic way where your brand is continually recognized. The door is always open, and you just don't know who's going to be seeing you. And even though they don't comment, they may show up at your door. They may show up at your open house. They may show up, next time you see them along the street and say, hey, I love that one post. I mean, just like Jeff didn't know that I watched that video about his daughter in Malibu, and she snuck up on him during a live video, but I recognized it, and I use it now. So just put yourself out there. Lauren, we're excited to have you on board. I think you're going to do wonders for all of our clients. I think your strategic mindset, it fits in really well with what we're doing. We're going to be posting our first post for all of our clients next week. So get ready for it. Jeff, thank you so much for your time. I know you get to do probably about 2 of these a day, so I appreciate everything that you do for us, and got to come back over to Santa Barbara soon.
Oh, I'd love to, man. Can't wait.
All right. Well,
Thanks, guys.
Nothing else. Thank you all so much, everybody, and stay active, I guess.
Stay active. That's right. See you guys.
See ya.
Bye.